Hi, my name is Dipinder Sapkota. My student name ID is NVA5020. We are going to present the Rental Voice Australia. To understand the rental crisis, a call to action for Rental Voice Australia. That is introduction part. The charity and crisis. The Australia rental crisis characterized for soaring rent, low vacancy rate, and housing unaffordable has insufficient due to the population growth, limit housing supply, and economic pressures. This report aims to analyze the crisis cause, impact, and potential solution, focusing on its social and economic implication for the rents and policymakers. It explores how business such as real estate firms can adapt to these challenges. The report is structured into three categories: an overview of the crisis, an analysis of the contribution factor and consequence, and recommendation for the stakeholders. This research connects the crisis to the broader social and business challenges, offering the actionable science.
Good morning. I will be presenting our key research findings on the Australian vendor crisis today. From our analysis of 58 vendor quotes, three undeniable themes stands out: affordability, housing shortages, and poor living conditions. These are the hard facts driving the crisis. So as you can see in the second chart, it shows that national pictures almost half of all the renter complaints, around 47%, are about affordability and the rent increase. Over a quarter highlight housing shortages, while about 1 in 5 report poor or unsafe living conditions. The takeaways here is clear: affordability is the number one concern nationwide. So when we look at locations, we see big differences. In the capital cities, half of all complaints are about affordability. People struggling with bidding wars and skyrocketing rents. In the territories, issues are more balanced. Shortages and these poor conditions each make about a quarter. In regional areas, affordability is still high, but shortages and the poor conditions are professionally much better. A Chi-square test confirms these differences is a significance. Geography shapes the crisis. Cities face rent stress, while regional face supplies qualities and problems. This image brings the crisis to life. On the left, renters line up for the property at $800 a week, symbolizing the affordability pressures in cities on the night. A cramped and unsafe home represents the shortages and the poor conditions in regional and rural areas. And the word unaffordable at the top sums up the emotional reality, stress, frustration, and the hopelessness. This is the human face behind the numbers. Now, let's connect the numbers with human stories. Nearly half of renters mention affordabilities. In cities, 1 in 2 renters struggles with rising rents. And in regionals, almost half the complaints are about shortages and poor conditions. Together, the data and the image tell us a single stories. Renters across Australia are being squeezed, either by unaffordable cost or by unlivable housing. So, coming back to our main point, why does this matter? Our finding shows that affordability is the biggest crisis in cities, while shortages and the poor housing dominate in regions and the territories. Numbers alone don't capture the stress, but when we combine them with the real renter voices and the imaginary, the message is clear. Australians are being pushed to the edge. That's why urgent advocacy and the reforms are needed now. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Susmita Patuwar. As a consult, we analyze that rental crisis for Rental Voice Australia to provide insight that support advocacy and campaign. As for today, I'm gonna cover task 3 and task 4. Okay, that is research approach and core analysis. So let's move to next slide. As you can see, that's in the slide, this cover the task 3, that's research approach. So we use a mixed method approach like frequency count and cross tabulation for pattern, whereas thematic uh, thematic thematic analysis and content analysis is for live experience. This gives both data and human insight. So let's move to next one. As this one is quantitative insight, as you can see at the pie chart, the most of the distribution is for affordability rental rent increases, and then and we can see that that is 40.8%, whereas uh, there are other as well, like the housing condition and then competition and assist, as rent increase dominant as the most frequent issue in the data set. Other issues were like fewer highlight unique struggle, like poor property condition, availability and affordability concerns are consistently present across the location. So let's move to the next slide. As this one is qualitative insight, which include stress and anxiety, frustration which is ignored by the landlord, poor condition and hopelessness. By sharing this study, it will help build empathy and public support, which is good for the people and then the renter. So next, move to the next slide. So you can see this one is cross analysis and static. So cross analytic and static is we compare location versus complaint type of reveal, where you can see capital city, which is affordability issue dominant, whereas regional areas there is shortage raised more frequently, and in territories it is like higher share of poor living condition, which show how the rental crisis impact Australian differently depending on the location. So it's as you can see, it's a fake according or depending on the location where they are located. So this one is like I think advocacy should be tailored regionally. As let's move to the next. As you can see, it is the continuing part of the remaining. So here Q squad test, it confirmed that the location matter despite a small data set. Result provide strong evidence of regional specific housing policy, where it like you this provide like evidence based on support from advocacy and strategy. There is like confirmed distinct challenge in different region. Thank you, I just covered my part from task 3 and task 4. The remaining part will be covered by my friend. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Abhishek Dash and my student ID is EMV5679. Today I am covering the part of human story. So behind every statistic is a human story that reminds crisis in Australia. It's not just about numbers, it's about real people, families and the students struggling every day. As the brand empathy analyst, my role is to share these voices and show why the issue is deeply human. To core analysis, our analysis found three main emotions: stress, frustration, and hopelessness. First, the rental feel stressed because rents keep rising and they fear eviction at any time. Second, the feel frustration because landlords often ignore problems like mold or leaks. And third, and the last one is, and they feel helplessness because even after applying again and again, they still can't find a secure place to live. The biggest pain point were high rents, overcrowded homes, and poor living condition. What people really need is a security, dignity, and affordable housing. To bring this to life, let me share two quotas, what we call soul points. One renter said, I had applied for over 20 houses and still nowhere to go. It feels like the system is stacked against us. And another shared that he paid $700 a week for a unit with mold and broken plumbing, were exhausted and trapped. These voices show the human reality behind the data. The marketing connection. These insights are very important to Renter Voice Australia. They tell us who is most affected: young, adults, students, families. They also guided how to brand should communicate. Renter Boy should use storyline, not just numbers, to connect with people. Sharing quotas, stories, and visual makes the message emotional and real. This builds empathy, which is stronger than just raising awareness. By focusing on people lived experience, rental voices can position itself as a true voices for rental in Australia. In conclusion, I want to say the rental crisis is not only a data problem, it's a human problem. By listening to people struggling and sharing their stories, we can turn research into empathy and empathy into a action. So this is my part. My next partner will continue